most of the time when people think of religious making their promises or vows in community, they talk about poverty, chastity, and obedience, the theological virtues. As Benedictines, we certainly embrace those, but how they're worded for us is a little different. First of all, we don't refer to them as vows. We refer to them as promises that we make. And the promises that we make are obedience, stability, and fidelity to the monastic way of life. That last one, fidelity to the monastic way of life, includes chastity and poverty or simplicity of living. The reason we refer to them as promises is because that's exactly how Saint Benedict presented them in the Rule. I'll just share here with you the passage in chapter 58 where Benedict says, when the new person, the novice, is to be received, he comes before the whole community in the oratory, that being the prayer chapel, and promises stability, fidelity to monastic way of life, and obedience. He states his promise in a document drawn up in the name of the saints whose relics are there, and of the abbot who is present. And they write out the document themselves. We don't type it, we write it out with our own hand. And if the person in the time of Benedict couldn't write, someone else wrote it for them, and then they put their mark on the paper. Today, of course, we write it out in full and sign our name. And it is witnessed, usually by the prioress. And that document stays in the records of the community. It is our spoken, it's read in the chapel, it is our spoken and written promise to live this way of life. Now it's voiced as 3, but if you notice, Benedict says we promise this stability, fidelity, and obedience. And even though it's voiced as 3, it is, in a sense, one promise that incorporates or includes those 3 aspects. Our promise is to stay here, to live here, to work here, and to be community to one another as we seek God together. And so that whole concept of a monastic promise, if you can think of a promise that you've made that was a very serious promise and you thought, I'll never break that promise, that's basically what this means. It is a lifelong promise that we make. We don't do it lightly, and we have a period of time during which we can think about, over usually 3 years, is this what I want to do permanently the rest of my life? So those sisters are called first professed, and they live the life, they follow those promises. If at the end of that time they really feel committed, then they make it a lifelong promise. So that's just a little background about what we mean by our monastic promises. And next time around, we'll talk about each of the 3. Have a good day.